Hello InvestWise family, welcome to the last monthly webinar of the year. It is December 2023 and we are excited to close out the year with you. Thanks for spending some extra time with us on this webinar to learn a few more things that we can squeeze in before the holiday season really kicks off. So again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brandon Moore and we really appreciate you tuning in. So very fun year, very crazy year at that, right? I want to start off with doing a brief overview of what went on this year, not only in just the markets, but in the financial planning world, helping you kind of sort out the important things and the unimportant things. So first and foremost, we take ourselves way back to the beginning of the year. It was coming off a year of down markets, right? 2022 especially was a rough year after the 2021, call it the COVID boom, and all of that momentum was brought down due to things like inflation continuing to rise and the Federal Reserve needing to control some other aspects like increasing those interest rates, which of course puts pressure on the stock market as well as in general most economic situations. So we start out the year, I would say, pretty rough. Lots of back and forth, lots of issues. If you remember in the springtime, there was issues about the debt ceiling, not the first time, but also issues with the bank collapsing in certain areas, and those were all big fears, right? And we helped a lot of our clients, including probably you, through some of those issues, helping you understand how accounts actually work and where they're held. So again, hopefully that was a easier time for you because you had us on your team. But I just want to remind everyone of that, right? There was a lot of uncertainty, and there still a little bit is, right? We've had a great second half of the year. Markets had a bit of a waiver, of course, in the middle of the fall. But again, these are not abnormal things. No one's used to the market going up all the time, nor down all the time as much as we think it's going to. So I'm happy that you all are still here, still doing well. Those of you who followed our advice and guidance, I'm glad that helped. But what we want to kind of recover too is some of our philosophies for 2023. We were very focused on protecting our clients in any way that we possibly can. You know, whether it's from the allocations that we chose in portfolios to be more defensive versus the unknown areas of the growth and the hype in the tech sector versus some other aspects of what a properly diversified portfolio looks like. So we're pleased with where they're positioned. We want to protect our clients this year with the unknowns and make sure that they have the best chance for the place they need to be coming into the 2024 year, as there's always some unknowns going forward. So thank you for sticking with that. And of course, we appreciate all the reviews that we had this fall and this spring, as well as during the summer, as we're always talking with clients, and your questions were phenomenal. I got some updates, questions from you for some of these webinars that we included, so I hope you like some of those as well. They're always encouraged. But again, looking into the new year, we're excited. We're looking at potentially some reallocations in the portfolios in the 2024 year, looking at in January or February timeframe, and looking at what trends and what areas that we should focus on. So again, we'll keep you updated on some of those. My goal is to add a bit more content on some of those areas too, as some of you are fairly interested in that. So again, the more we can do for you to get in front of you and educate you, the more we feel that we're doing a good service beyond just our financial planning meetings that we have together. So again, any questions on any of those things, do not hesitate to reach out. We are here for you. Looking at some other things in 2024 that we want to talk about that are actually actionable for you, things you can control, right? That's what financial planning is all about. It's not just about looking at the markets and the ups and downs, because again, that will frustrate you more than you can imagine because it's never really in your control. But some of the areas that I wanted to make sure you were updated on before your friends and family told you around the dinner table at Christmas or however you celebrate. So first and foremost, we always talk about Roth IRAs and contribution limits, right? Those are going up again. So for 2023, you have some time to get your contributions in if you qualified, right? That means if you were working, even if you're working part-time or your spouse was working, looking into those contributions are important. If you're under the age of 50, that limit is $6,500 for 2023. If you're over the age of 50, that's $7,500 for the year 2023. You have until April 15th. We'll probably be doing another webinar on certain topics of that before that time frame, but just wanted to get you ahead of the game. Second, 2024, those are going up. So it'll be $7,000 a year for 2024 if you're under age 50, and for the catch-up contribution over age 50, that'll be up to $8,000 a year that you can defer into a Roth to potentially grow tax-free. That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, very, very good thing that they're adding some inflation adjustments to these contributions, because if you look 3 or 4 years ago, they stayed the same for quite a while. Also some changes there too. If you are still employed, are in an employer plan, those limits are going up as well. Only about $500 again each, but again, for a person who is under the age of 50, those limits are $23,000 if you're under 50, and if you're over age 50, it's going up to $30,500 with the catch-up contribution. So we're moving in the right direction, right? If, for those who are maxing out that last ditch effort to get more money in for retirement, it's getting better and better for you. And of course, now you kind of can prepare your numbers and your balance sheets, hopefully, for the new year, and bring it into our review meetings as we talk and see what's able and what strategies you should be considering. Okay, so hopefully that's something that you can take advantage of, if not sooner than later. Okay, many of your clients who have talked to us, we already have a plan for you. We know what that's going to look like, and kudos to many of you also who've already contributed for the year. So good way to end your holiday season with no other extra expenses coming in 2024. Now, beyond that, a couple things that you want to be aware of for 2024, I kind of like to include any cool planning strategies that I can think of that are changing as tax laws and IRA laws change. And one of those rules is actually with 529 plans. 529 plans are something that you would use for college education, or generally education for whether it's K through 12 or mostly for university. However, many clients who prepare in 529 plans are somewhat discouraged sometimes to put too much money in there, because they're not as flexible to get it out if it's not used for education, right? You'd pay taxes and some sort of a penalty, generally around 10%, to get any of that growth out of there if it's not used for education. So people sometimes underfund those for college. That's one reason. Other reasons, it's we got to balance our budget, so it's hard to put more money away. But then secondly, let's say you have an old 529 plan. That your son or daughter maybe is not using anymore. They're fully out of school, maybe their first few years of work. What do you do with it, right? Well, a couple new rules that are coming out in 2024 is if that account for that beneficiary has been open for more than 15 years, they can choose, or meaning you can choose, to move up to $35,000 lifetime into a Roth IRA for that child without paying the tax or penalty on that growth in the 529 plan. So what do I mean by that? Meaning that per child there, if that child has, for example, $40,000 left inside of their 529 plan, what the rules are saying is you can actually move up to the contribution limit to Roth. So again, either most likely $6,500, because most of your children are probably under 50. So let's call it $6,500 or $7,000, depending on what year we're talking about, right? So next year, $7,000. From that $40,000 into the Roth IRA. So what does that mean? Can you do $35,000 all at once? Not necessarily. That's not what the IRS said. They said you can do it over, let's call it a 5 or a 6 year period, as you max out that Roth contribution limit. So it's a really good option for those that prepared very well for their kids for school, and then kids didn't end up using some of it, to actually start deferring some dollars for their kids' retirement that will grow tax-free for them, right? And you could probably wish when you were 26 that mom or dad who prepared well for college now also are able to put, let's call it $35,000 when you're in your early 20s or 30s into Roth. Imagine what that looks like 30 plus years from now, right? One of the most powerful accounts that you can allow some really good benefits to continue on with your family and your kids. So really, really cool. And then, by the way, some people say, well, maybe that doesn't work for you. The account wasn't open as long, or maybe you have different circumstances. There are always ways to use 529s better, right? You could take them out for some situations when it comes to if there's a scholarship, right? You can take out the equivalent. So there's so you're not having to take that out down the road when you don't have proof of what that was. So again, if you have any questions on how to maximize those so that you're not paying any extra taxes or penalties, come and talk to us, okay? So I know it's kind of an oddball item, but I think it's really cool, right? Something that you don't really hear every day, and something that you need to make sure that you reach out to people like us to make sure that they know what's going on with those next changes in the IRAs and the tax laws, okay? So hoping for some other, minimal changes next year, right? Nothing too crazy, We have a couple more years left of the current tax laws that we have, right? Assumably in 2026 is when those laws are going to change. So I know many of you did Roth conversions this year and some other really beneficial planning tactics on the tax side. So again, keep up the good work there and keep following what we're suggesting if we're looking at your plan as a whole. Okay, so very, very good there. Moving forward, I want to really close out today with talking more about financial planning as a whole. The concept, get away from the numbers, get away from the minutia. Let's talk about what it means for actual financial planning, right? This is an evolving concept. I was actually talking with my colleagues here about, especially the ones who have been seasoned in there since the 90s, what actual planning was like in the early stages of the financial services world. And it's nothing like it is today. We try very, very hard here at InvestWise to have the best possible relationships as we can with our clients, because the closer we know you and your family and how these things operate, the better advice we can give to help you make personal decisions that in turn affect your financial world too, right? And so what that means is, again, financial planning, as we talked about maybe in earlier webinars, is a process. And I try to find visuals and come up with some ideas of what that could look like. So what I did today, you're probably looking at it the whole time, but we always, when we start the new year planning, what I want you to think about is some of those financial goals that you're looking at creating, right? We have a lot of them listed out and listed down on all your profiles and plans. However, those change over time, right? So one thing that I'm currently doing personally, because I'm a goal setter and someone who likes to set some sort of achievement and check that off because it just feels good. I want to set 3 goals on both the financial side and the personal side. So over here, 2024 goals, as cheesy as it might be for the year-end resolutions, I strongly believe in it. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like to be able to aim for something and actually, feel the accomplishment. And if I'm off track on something and on track on another, well, I know what I have to do to make it happen. So I would like everybody, especially the clients here that come and meet with us, I want you to take an hour, right? An hour over the next, couple weeks before the 2024 year starts. And I want you to physically write down personal goals, financial goals. And do I say make a list of 100? No, because I, as you know, work in numbers of 3 very well. You have now, soon, and later buckets. You also have tax deferred, taxable, and tax free. After 3, it all just seems to kind of get lost in the shuffle, right? But if I can have 3 main goals on each of the areas that I need to focus on, my personal life as well as my financial life, those are things that I want to make sure that I write down and actually can look at on a weekly basis and saying, have I made progress toward this or have I not? Okay? So take the time, financial and personal. It's the easiest thing you could do on a sticky note, and I want you to write it down. And if you have the chance, if you happen to remember, I'll try to remember too, but I'd love for you to bring that into our next review meetings. That's good, really important for kind of my mission for 2024 is to really help you look at your financial world in a different lens than just by the numbers and show you why the numbers matter because of what you're trying to achieve, okay? Because outdated goals is like, running an outdated plan based on trying to retire when you're 60 and you're already 65, right? And so I want to make sure that that is a key component of why you're making the decisions that you are on the financial side. But then what that turns into, and I visually kind of drew this out, was, we then can make that plan to reach some of those goals, right? Because I might not know about all those things that you had on your mind because your needs change, right? So a couple examples that I've discovered in some review meetings recently were, a couple bucket list trips that some clients really wanted to take, and they were almost afraid to ask. They didn't know if it was the right thing for them, right? Overstepping or understepping. Also not knowing that they wanted to take care of some other family members or causes they care about and weren't sure if they could financially afford to do so, right? And so we are making some solid plans there for not only them, but the plan is for you as well too, that haven't maybe thought that far ahead yet, to make sure that life's a lot more than just trying not to run out of money, right? There's a lot that needs to happen between now and the day that we unfortunately kick the bucket. And we need to make sure that that is the most fulfilling thing we can do between now and then, because that's what retirement is for. You've spent years of working, fulfilling that need to get to where you are now. So now you want to focus that time and energy on things that you care about that make an impact on yourself and the other people around you. okay? So financial goals, we're listing out from what we talked here. We're making a plan to reach those goals. And of course, sometimes that comes with different investments that need to fit the plan accordingly, right? So you might need to adjust the strategy. We adjust your now student later bucket for certain reasons so that we can make sure that we can safely make that project happen. And so it's something that is very important. It can be very unique to each person, but take the time. I'm curious to hear your answers so that what we can be doing every year, hopefully one of the goals is to hopefully be repeating this process as kind of a automatic cadence, right? Because as much as we can always just assume the status quo for each person, there's not one human being out there that I know that doesn't have a need or a change in desire on a year-to-year basis, right? There's always something new, there's always something changing, and without the conversation being had or doing something kind of awkward and uncomfortable, right? Especially with somebody outside of just your family, I think is very important and a really thing that I'd like you all to take advantage of, okay? So closing out 2023, there's some things we've covered just to recap today, right? Talked about, what year it's been, looking at, next year and some great updates and things that we will be rolling out to you. Looking at 2024 and the portfolio aspect and some reallocations, things to consider in January and February. Looking at your contribution limits in the new year, looking at those old 529 plans, and finally trying to get a handle on what some of these goals look like for your future as they continue to evolve. So thank you everyone for sticking around this long on the webinar. I hope you learned a few things, if not just heard my voice and my gratitude toward you all for tuning in. And I'm so excited for 2024. I'm gonna try to do even more of this type of thing, more content, more updates on certain areas, market updates and planning content, even maybe bringing in some other planners to share some different perspective here at InvestWise. So again, thank you. Thank you very much, and we will see you guys in the new year, and have a safe holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.